Could take a seat, and I declare the March Ordinary Council meeting open at 5 p.m. I welcome councillors, staff, all our online viewers and members in the gallery. Everyone is welcome. Thank you, Councillor Bromham, thank you. Sorry. Disclaimer, members of the public are advised that recommendations to council contained within this agenda can be subject to change. Applicants and other interested parties should refrain from taking any action until written advice is received, confirming council's decision with respect to any particular issue. Any statement or insinuation of approval regarding any planning or development application made during an ordinary council meeting is not to be taken as notice of approval. Thank you, Councillor Coleman, that's a fine. Anyone who has an application lodged with the Shire must obtain and should only rely on written confirmation of the outcome of the application and any conditions attached to this decision made by Council. Council members and the community are reminded that should an exception resolution be passed, this has the effect of making the decision to accept the officer's recommendation stated in the agenda as the Council's decision without change. An audio and visual record will be made by means of live streaming of these proceedings and uploaded to the Shire's YouTube page for viewing. Acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Harvey acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to the land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities and their cultures, and to elders and emerging elders, both past and present. Procedural motion. I move the following: that Council suspend Standing Orders Part 8, Clause 8.5, members to indicate their intention to speak and to rise when speaking, to allow members to remain seated when speaking, to improve the quality of the audio recording of the meeting. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Capra-Grego. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Thank you. Record of apologies. I have nil. Applications for leave of absence. Oh, here we go. Councillor Junio, we'll start with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to apply for leave from the 22nd to the 30th of April, please. Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a mover for Councillor Holly? A seconder? Councillor Coleman. Any opposition? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Junio, are you voting?
Ah, yes.
Thank you.
What be in your best interest?
Carried 10-0. Councillor Capra-Grego.
Madam President, request for absence or leave on the 18th of April.
Just for the day? Yeah.
There'll be a bit of time either way, but I won't be available for that meeting.
Okay. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Coleman. A seconder? Councillor Bromham. Any discussion? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Thank you. Declarations of members and officers' personal interest. As per what is on the screen, councillors and staff, are there any other declarations? I'll give you some time to have a read through. Councillor Coleman.
Sorry, I'm a member of the Honours and Awards Committee, so an impartiality interest. Thank you.
Noted, thank you. Councillor Junio.
I'm a deputy of the Yarloop Workshops Committee, so if I could put impartiality interest, but I'll be remaining in the chambers, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Junio. Any others, councillors? Is that to do with the forward capital? Councillor Junio, just confirming that's what item that's with. Is that the forward capital works?
Yes, please.
Can we maybe scroll to the top?
All happy? Thank you. Questions by members of which due notice has been given is nil. Response to previous questions taken on notice are as per the screen. I will say, Council, that Mrs Ferguson has contacted me and asked for her question to be asked once again. I have indicated to Mrs Ferguson in writing that I will not be asking the question again. It's already been answered appropriately, and if there is anything further, we will deal with that on an administrative nature moving forward. Public question time. We have Mr Booth. Welcome, Mr Booth. Would you like to come forward and ask your questions, please?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Car signage within the Shire for Shire vehicles. I was just wondering why the vehicles, like the workers, the construction crews and the gardeners and all those sort of vehicles that are owned by our Shire, why we don't have Shire of Harvey loud and proud on the sides of the vehicles.
I'd probably need to take that on notice. I'm not aware of a reason why we do or we don't, but we could look into that and get back to you on that one.
Okay. Yep. Great. I did ask a question in January at the annual general meeting, and it was to do with the ratio or the numbers of Shire staff in comparison to how the population has changed. So just bear with me. There's a little bit of a question that I'd like to ask properly with this. And okay, I'm not going to do that. The population of our Shire, or the answer that I got back was over a 10-year period from 2014 through to 2020. The population within that 10-year period in the Shire increased by 20%, but the staffing of the Shire increased by 61%. So, efficiency is a big thing, and really the definition of efficiency is doing more with less. So I'd just like to find out what the situation is with that. Because if the numbers have gone up, and of course, because that's 20% in comparison to 61%, the services, if they have increased incredibly, and everyone's feeling delighted about the way that or the services that the Shire is offering, but I don't know whether that's actually the case. So I'm just wondering whether efficiency with this type of stuff, how you look at that. Especially with such a huge difference, population going up 20% to staff going up 61%. Back in 2014, for every staff member, there were 244 members of the ratepayers, and that increased steadily every single year, or decreased. Sorry. It went from 244, 232, 237, 235, or 237 again, 231, 233, 217, 193, 189, and now, but this is an estimated figure, and these are off the February minutes. So you've given me these figures, and 24 is an estimated figure, but it's come down from 244 in 2014 to now being one staff member for every 182 members of...
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Booth. I think we've got the gist of the questions, CEOU. We'll take that one on notice as well, and we'll get back to you on that one. Thank
Fantastic. You. Just one last one, if I may. DEI. What sort of DEI programs do we have in the Shire? and what sort of money is spent on those programs.
Could you just let me know what DEI is?
Diversity, equity and inclusion.
And inclusion, DEI. What was the question, sorry? Could you repeat that?
Do you have DEI programs across the board? Are we spending money as a shire on DEI programs? And if we are, what sort of spend is involved in those?
We'll take that one on notice, or you...
Yes, we do have access and inclusion programs. We do have an access and inclusion plan, but in regards to the money spent in those particular areas, that question will have to be taken on notice.
So what did you call the programs then, sorry?
It's an access and inclusion plan.
Okay, no, I'm talking about DEI.
We've got an access and inclusion plan. We also have a workforce equity plan as well. So that's an internal document.
Okay, it's an internal document that can be shared or not?
No, it's an internal shire document relating to staff.
Right. Okay, if you can get back to me on
We will. We'll
things,
take them on
that'd
notice.
be
Thanks,
awesome.
Mr. Booth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions from the gallery? Thank you. Deputations. I warmly welcome Mr. Beach back to the chambers. Mr. Beach, if you'd like to come forward. Deputation on item 12.5.2. Most welcome.
Thank you. I'm not sure I'd like to be here or watching the budget, but thank you, Madam President and councillors, for the opportunity to speak on item 12.5.2, and that's all to do with the honours and awards. And it's an address that I give because it's a matter that's both deeply personal to me and one in which I've been involved with actively for the past 30 plus or minus years. So really my delegation today is not to undermine the efforts of the council staff in documenting a way forward, but rather to highlight some critical inconsistencies within the report in the agenda item. I appreciate the addendum that addresses concerns regarding the presentation of the Community Citizenship Awards with just one minor adjustment, if some councillors might take this on board. And I would fully endorse the report and extend my gratitude to the staff for taking those points on board and producing the addendum. I'd like to include, if council agrees, the words "or chairs of the town's breakfast organising committee," which follows the words "elected members." So in the addendum it says that the awards will be presented by elected members, and I'm saying "or," and I'll lead into that a little bit later. I'd just like to address a few of the key misinterpretations in the reports. In relation to the citizenship naturalisation ceremonies, the report states that the decision to host only one ceremony was made due to staffing constraints, the burden on elected members and the complexity of hosting two large ceremonies simultaneously. I would point out, as the events are run by volunteer community members, I fail to see how hosting two large ceremonies is overly complex for staff or councillors for that matter. Historically, the Harvey Australia Day Breakfast Committee requested the Shire to host a citizenship ceremony at the Harvey event, which was successfully conducted for many years in Harvey. This is back in the 90s. It was only later, under the leadership of the late Jim Offer, the Shire President, from 1997 to 2003, that the dual ceremonies in Harvey and Australind were introduced. And that was a practice that was upheld until COVID disruptions, and in 2020 and again in 2025. That's just gone, January. Given my extensive experience in the citizenship ceremonies as a staff member, councillors and a community leader, I strongly disagree with the staffing constraints or the logistic burdens justified eliminating the dual ceremony structure. Again, the event is largely run by volunteers, and surely, as we know the date years in advance, council and staff could be allocated duties in plenty of time, not unlike Anzac Day, for example. Granting the nominees the opportunity to take their citizenship pledge within the community they now call home is a privilege that should not be diminished. The Australia Day breakfast provides the only occasion throughout the year where this can occur. A moment of profound significance that strengthens the connection between new citizens and their local communities. What greater honour can we offer than allowing nominees to choose whether they take their pledge in Harvey or Lynn, ensuring they are welcome and celebrated by their neighbours and peers? Now, reflecting on the Community Citizenship Awards, there are some misinterpretations of the Aspire guidelines. The report claims that the Aspire guidelines stipulates, and I'll come to that word a little bit later, that there should be one winner across the Shire per category, and this is incorrect. Aspire governance guidelines, and councillors on page 566 of your attachment, it states, we strongly encourage you to choose one recipient per category. However, ultimately, it is up to your council shire to decide whether awarding 2 recipients is in the best interest of your community. Last year, 2 recipients in Harvey were awarded the Community Citizenship Award. The solution, as per the Aspire guidelines on page 556 of your attachments, we would have been able to reclassify one on the senior community citizenship category. Thus, the claim that council, and this is in the report, acted contrary to the Aspire guidelines is false. Furthermore, the term stipulates is misused, implying a rigid rule where only a recommendation exists. Now, there's some concerns in the report, the lack of staff availability to plan and deliver 3 separate events. However, the report acknowledges the Community Citizenship Awards are successfully held in Brunswick, Harvey and Australind, and given that Australia Day breakfast occurs annually on the same date, staff availability can be organised well in advance. Goes on to say about a disappointment of lack of elected members' attendance. If the members are not attending, how does hosting 3 events impose a burden? This date is fixed each year. If elected officials can attend multiple Anzac Day services, I think they can certainly coordinate for Australia Day. Another line states the need for a well-structured event to avoid confusion. Now, as a long-time volunteer at these breakfasts, I take offence at this implication. The Harvey event has consistently received praise, particularly in 2020 when we successfully managed a large-scale citizenship ceremony for the first time during COVID-19. The strategy we developed was later adopted by Council itself. The only significant issues in 2025 arose from external interference and not volunteer shortcomings. A lack of recognition for those awarded at different locations could easily be resolved by a simple acknowledgement by all awardees across the locations, perhaps by the chairs of the organising committee if deemed necessary. Now, the matrix on page 578 of your attachments, dot point 3, the amendment now aligns with Aspire guidelines, which states recipients should not be notified before the presentation that they are recipients, only that they are finalists. This principle ensures the integrity and prestige of the awards. And for the record, I don't agree in notifying the finalists either, but that's a matter for the council. And a new requirement, awards to be presented by the Shire President or the proxy. This proposal undermines the role of the community volunteers who have long upheld the highest standards in respect and formality. While I acknowledge the amendment to include elected members, I strongly urge Council to also include all chairs of the Town Breakfast Organiser Committee to reflect the long-standing practice. Mrs Talbot of Brunswick and myself feel particularly aggrieved at not being consulted over this change and point out that we've had this role since the early 90s. We represent the community at what is essentially a community event. We would ask that you take this into consideration when debating the addendum to the officer's recommendation, and probably a football acknowledgement here. It's almost a hip and shoulder before you kick a goal. Additionally, the officer's report fails to mention the minutes of July 25, 2024 meeting where the Shire President represents from Harvey, Brunswick and Australian Breakfast and several staff members reached agreements on these matters. These minutes should have been reviewed and reflected accurately. They have been circulated to all councillors, I understand. So, in conclusion, the community awards presented at the community-run events are not shire organised functions. I urge councillors to reconsider its approach, ensuring the report accurately reflects the July 25-24 meeting minutes, the community needs, the dedication of volunteers and the flexibility permitted by Aspire guidelines. I am aware that there will be a cost to this, but I believe it to be insignificant compared to the cost borne by council, of which I support also. This is not a criticism, but to point out that you support the Harvey Gala Night, Harvey's Festival and the Harvey Show, just for an example, and there are many more. Finally, I reiterate my committee's request to conduct citizenship naturalisation ceremonies at Harvey and Australind at the same time or on the same day to uphold the fundamental principles that the nominees should have the right to choose where they take their pledge, surrounded by their community. So I thank you for your consideration of what I've had to say, and I'll stay and listen to the debate if that's okay.
Thank you, Mr Beach.
Thank you.
More than welcome to. Okay, announcements by presiding members or the CEO without discussion. Firstly, I would like to take this opportunity to thank councillors, staff and community members who sent kind messages, cards and flowers with the recent passing of my father, Ian Moore. So they were greatly appreciated, so thank you very much. I also wish to acknowledge and thank Councillor John Bromham for stepping up during the time that I was unavailable. So thank you, Councillor Bromham. I'd also like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Harvey Main Street Committee and everyone else that was involved with the very successful delivery, 3-day delivery of the Harvey Harvest Festival. An outstanding 3 days of events, and I think has set a new benchmark for the Harvey Harvest Festival. So Councillor Capra-Grego, if you could please pass that on to the Harvey Main Street Committee on our behalf. Congratulations and well done.
Thank you very much.
CEO, did you have anything you wanted to add? No. Thank you. Okay, item 10, confirmation of minutes. We have the ordinary council meeting of Tuesday, the 25th of February 2025. We have an officer's recommendation here that they be printed as and confirmed as a true and correct record. Do I have a mover, councillors, for this? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Bromham. Any discussion, councillors? I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Thank you. Also, receipt of minutes from the Audit Committee meeting held on Tuesday the 18th of March. That the minutes be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Councillor Holly, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Bromham. Any discussion, councillors? Put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. We will now move into the officers' reports. 12.1.1 is the Southwest...
Madam President, can I move that item 12.5.2 be brought forward, taken out of agenda and brought forward to be dealt with separately?
12.5. Honours and awards. Let me find that in my... Do I need a movement for that one? Thank you. Councillor Caboni, you're moving that we bring this item forward. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bromham. Is there any opposition, councillors? Put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Thank you. We'll now deal with item 12.5.2. The review of the policy 3.1.1 honours and awards. So there was some additional information provided. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Caboni. A seconder? Councillor from Okay, councillor Coleman, I know that you have an amendment to this item. Did you want to speak to put this up on the screen?
Yeah, thanks, Madam
I'll just get a
President.
seconder first, councillor Coleman. So do we have a seconder for this one?
Joe put his hand up.
This is for the amendment.
This is for the amendment, sorry. Councillor Capragrego is seconding it. Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Madam President. I've put this forward on an assumption that I'm happy to take advice from. It says to open the period of awards from March to mid-April. Now, to my mind, that could be seen as subjective. When is March and when is mid-April? So I've made this recommendation or this amendment based on the fact that I have an assumption that our current IT or whatever system is in place can actually forecast that we can actually turn that on, because all the applications are online. It makes no difference about being in writing. Can our current IT system, for want of a term, be programmed to turn on the online applications on the 1st of March if, for example, the 1st of March happened on a Sunday? So can we program it to automatically flick on the 1st of March? Can we program it to automatically flick off on the 15th of April? So that's my assumption, to try and rule out any anomalies where the public turn around and say, well, hang on, I submitted my application and mid-April is undefined. So I'm happy to take advice on this amendment, but that's the intent of this amendment, to try and clarify it in the public's eye.
Before I go to councillor Capragrego, Director Community Lifestyle, are you able to answer or provide any further information?
Certainly, thank you, Madam Chair. The intent of the policy was to be a guiding document that was underpinned by procedural or operational procedures. So the intent was that each year the opening and closing dates specifically would be advertised. And the idea was that we would open them on the first Monday in March and close them on the second Friday of April. And bearing in mind that those particular dates change every single year, that was why we had put in the policy that it was beginning of March to mid-April. However, I have been able to confirm with marketing that we can program the opening of the awards to be open on the 1st, regardless of whether it's a weekend or not, and close on the 15th, regardless of whether it's a weekend or not.
Thank you. Councillor Capragrego as seconder.
Given the information that's just come to hand, I think that's correct. If we can set the voting dates formally, then I think it's clear. I support the motion.
Okay. Is there any opposition in regards to this amendment, councillors? No? Do you want to close the debate at all on this one, councillor Coleman?
No, thank you for clarifying that. It was an assumption that I made, but it could have easily been our IT system that's in a state of improvement at the moment may or may not have been able to cope. So thank you very much for the clarification.
Okay, thank you. We'll put this one to the vote then, councillors. All those in favour? Against? 2 against. Councillor Holly? You're with. Let me do that vote again. All those in favour? Show of hands. 10-0. Thank you. That's carried. That now becomes a substantive. So, Councillor Cabani? Councillor Cabani, as the mover now of the substantive motion, did you wish to speak?
Yeah, I'd like to make some amendments too. I'd like to include the words that Mr Beach brought up, but I don't know where you include it with this motion, that the committee chair can also present the awards in the absence of a councillor. And I'd also like, out of the policy itself, the Environment Award taken out. I see no reason why we need to get on this woke bandwagon and have the Environment Award and Arts Award in there. I think they should be stripped out of it. I can't see a reason why Alcoa should get this award every year. So they're my amendments.
Let's deal with the first one, Councillor Caboni, and that's to incorporate the wording or chairs of the town's breakfast organising committee. Is that correct? That's correct.
Is that point 3.3?
Policy. The policy or terms of reference? Of the policy.
Okay.
Job point 5 of part 3.3.
And it is Environmental Champion Award and Arts Excellence Award. Oh, sorry.
Councillor Caboni, did you want to speak to each of these amendments separately, or are you happy to address them together? Okay, I'll just ask for a seconder. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Capra-Grego. Councillor, before I go to Councillor Caboni, did you have a question, Councillor Bromham?
Thank you, through the chair. I just wanted to ascertain why we've removed the youth award.
Through the CEO to Director Community Lifestyle, are you able to respond to that?
It is because we incorporated it into, because there is a youth award as part of the Community Citizen of the Year Awards. So it was a duplication. That was the reason.
Right, thanks for that.
Okay, over to you, Councillor Caboni, in regards to your amendments.
Yeah, speaking to the amendment, just quickly, I think Mr Beach's proposal that the committee chair can present the awards in the absence of a councillor, given that we'll be going back to 9 councillors from October, it makes good sense if someone an elected member can't be there, and as was stated, it's been done on numerous occasions in the past and it's always done very professionally. With the second part of the amendment, I don't see why we have to go down this woke path of having an environmental award. I mean, who are we going to give it to in the Shire each year? Our Works Department, Alcoa. I just think it's unnecessary. Same with the Arts Awards. There's plenty, and I can live with the Sports Award, but there's plenty of opportunities elsewhere in the community for sports awards, environmental awards, arts awards. We have an arts prize in the Shire. I just don't think it needs to be included. Take away from what has originally been there for years.
Councillor Capra-Gregor.
Yeah, thanks, Madam President. On dot point 3.3, I think every community should be entitled to have somebody present to give the awards out, and it can't always be someone directly from Shire, whether it's yourself, Madam President, or a representative. And given the fact that we are reducing our numbers in the coming months, I think that giving the responsible person the opportunity to do that is well worthy of the day, to give them the opportunity to hand over the award, whether it be one of the organising committee or a responsible person that's been given that task for the day.
Any speakers against? Councillor Dickinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. While I don't have a problem with the first amendment, the 3.3.5, the reason why it was thought that an environmental champion award be presented was councillors that have been on the awards committee have been presented with examples of people that do small environmental efforts in their localities, and it's been identified with nominees in different localities throughout the Shire of a person that has done just small but significant things. They're not enough to receive the award because it may not be in a leadership role, but it might be, for example, that continually they have chosen a section or a locality that they have removed rubbish from on a regular basis. We had no criteria, we believed, that we could actually acknowledge those people for the volunteer efforts that they did, because they weren't necessarily involved in numerous volunteer organisations or in a management or leadership role, but they were actually doing environmental good work off their own bat at their own expense. So that was the reasoning why the Environmental Champion Award. It was not envisaged, I don't believe, to award to organisations like Alcoa or other large organisations that are known for doing environmental efforts. Same reasoning behind the Arts Excellence Award as well. So that was the reasoning why that was suggested, and I fully support that, because, you know, we have different community members that contribute in different ways to our community at different levels. Not everybody is in a leadership level, but they still make a significant contribution, and this gives the opportunity to acknowledge that and award it. So I will be voting against this amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Our speaker for? Speaker against? Question, Councillor Coleman.
Thank you. I would just like to clarify, I didn't read the awards as having to be in a leadership position for almost any of them. It just said a significant achievement or a significant contribution. So just querying, maybe it's my misunderstanding, I didn't see any of the awards as having to be in a leadership role. So I'd just like to query or get an explanation of Councillor, or further explanation of Councillor Dickinson, if I may.
Requesting a further explanation, Councillor Dickinson.
In my time on being on the committee over the number of years while I've been a councillor, we have different people nominated and they have all different skill sets. One of the that was just an example that I used. So when we have somebody that, not everybody has to be in a leadership position, but quite often we get people that have been in a leadership position in an organisation voluntarily. So we have a criteria of scoring, and there's different levels that the people on the awards committee, how they judge their scoring. That was only an example that I used.
Speaker against? Okay, Councillor Carboni, did you wish to close the debate?
Yeah, I'll close the debate. Look, with regards to this dot point 3.2 or the Environment and Arts Award, we're just going down a woke path here. Where's the Small Business Award in the Shire? Where's the Entrepreneur of the Year Award in here? We're not going down that path. Or we're going to add them in next year. I think it just takes away from the significance of the other awards that we've been handing out for years and takes the spotlight off those prestigious awards. So I'll close with that. Thanks.
Councillors, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Against? 3. Carried. 7-3. That now becomes the substantive. Who moved initially? Okay. All right, we have the substantive now. Councillor Caboni, did you wish to speak any further on this? Councillor Bromham is the seconder.
No, thank you. I think it's all been said.
Okay. Is there any opposition to this substantive motion now, councillors? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? 1 against. Carried. 10-1. Thank you. 9-1, correction. Thank you. Okay, we will now resume our order in the agenda and we'll go to item 12.1.1, which is to do with the South West Community Care lease of land request. We have an officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Bromham, a seconder. Councillor Holly. Councillor Coleman, I understand you have an amendment. Is that correct?
I did send a query through that was responded to by the CEO. Thank you, Madam President. I didn't pursue it further. However, I'm happy to ask the question at the moment. Okay?
Yes.
Right. What I suggested was that we put in the motion rather than the purposes outlined in the report, which really the report, as we've seen many times, the report actually doesn't give us any decision making. It's just what we base our decisions on. So I actually added in there that the centre will be an activity centre, secure parking, etc., as per what the report said. And the CEO duly responded and said that that may be a restriction of what they can actually put in the business plan. So I didn't pursue it any further, but I guess my only concern, and it remains a concern, is that we are basing our decisions on a report that we can't put in the recommendations as a motion because it may be restrictive. So I haven't moved the amendment. I'm not entirely comfortable with the fact that we're basing the decision on the report. The report's not good enough to go into the motion. So I didn't pursue it, and I thank the CEO for giving me the response that she did. Thank you.
So I'm just seeking clarification that you're not following through on the amendment? Okay, you're happy as the officer's recommendation stands. Thank you. Councillor Bromham, as the mover, did you wish to speak?
Only to say I think this is a very worthwhile organisation. It fits very well into that particular precinct, and I think it gives great community services, and it will now be giving great community services when it eventually opens its doors to both Australind and Harvey. So that's fantastic for the Shire of Harvey.
Thank you, Councillor Bromham. Councillor Holly as the seconder.
That's pretty well said. There's opportunities, yeah.
Is there likely to be any opposition, councillors? No? I shall put this one to the vote then, councillors. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Thank you. Infrastructure services is nil. Noted. Sustainable development, item 12.3.1, the proposed basic scheme amendment number 2 to Treendale Road Policy Area 3B structure plan. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for this one? Thanks, councillors. Councillor Coleman, a seconder. Councillor Bromham. Councillor Coleman, did you wish to speak? Councillor Bromham?
No, it's fine, thanks.
Any opposition? Put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Thank you. Item 12.3.2, the draft local biodiversity strategy for public consultation. We have an officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover? Councillor Dickinson, seconder. Councillor Bromham. Councillor Coleman, you have an amendment?
Yes. Sorry, Madam President. I added in point 2 that at the completion of advertising, all submissions will be considered by council in its determination for final approval. And if I may ask a question at the same time, it did state in there that we were going to advertise in the local newspaper. Can we clarify which paper or papers they will be, please?
We'll deal with the question first. Mr Hall?
Sorry, Madam Chair, that answer was provided to me by one of my staff members and I'll just grab that email now. There's the South West Times and, if possible, the 4 o'clock report. The South West Times and, if possible, the 4 o'clock report, if there was room available.
So the South West Times and the 4 o'clock report, if there is room available, is that correct? Question?
Thank you. Yeah, I was just debating. So if the 4 o'clock report, if there's room, so are we saying that it'll only go in the South West Times? If there's not, it won't go into the Bunbury Herald or the Harvey Waroona Reporter as a given?
We haven't done so in the past, Madam Chair, so, but we can look into it.
Have some further information.
Apologies, Madam Chair. So the 4 o'clock report actually alternates between the Harvey Reporter and the Bunbury Herald. So, of course, if it is a priority that it is there, we can do that, and it'll cover both newspapers as well as the South West Times.
So it'll go in. Sorry, so it'll go in even if there's not room? That was the statement. If there's room, it'll go in. So
it will go in if it is required to go in.
Okay, thank you.
So be it.
Thank you. So we've got Councillor Coleman has moved the amendment. Do I have a seconder for this amendment? No seconder. Okay, then that then lapses. So we're back to the officer's recommendation. Councillor Dickinson, did you wish to speak to this?
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Councillor Bromham?
Thank you, Madam President. Having gone through the process of this as being part of the committee, I think it would be a great thing moving forward for the Shire to have identified those locations that need protection. So I think this is a great move forward for the Shire.
Any further discussion, councillors? No? I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Thank you. 12.3.3, application for development approval, retrospective change of use, holiday house at lot 19, number 1, Eastwell Road, Australind. We have an officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover, please, councillors? Councillor Bromham, seconder. Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Bromham, did you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having read the report and looked at the road traffic movements and looking at it from a planning perspective, there's no real reason to say no to this particular request.
Councillor Dickinson? Any opposition, councillors? Put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Corporate Services, 12.4.1, Forward Capital Works Plan 2025 to 2030. Now, we're going to break this up into a number of parts. Officers' recommendation 1 of 2 that Council adopts the Forward Capital Works Plan 25 to 30 with the exception of D 24.1 and O 26.22 as per attachment 1. Do I have a mover for that, councillors? Councillor Carboni, a seconder. Councillor Dickinson. Councillors, is there any discussion in regards to this one? No. Councillor Carboni, Councillor Dickinson? No. I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Now I ask Councillor Holly to leave the chambers. Okay, councillors, so we now have the second part of the motion that council adopts D 24.1 and O 26.22 into the Forward Capital Works Plan 2530. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Carboni. Seconder? Councillor Bromham. A question, Councillor Coleman.
Yes, Madam President, because that's different to our agenda. What is D 24.1 and Q or O 26.22?
Yes, through the chair. There are 2 items relating to a proximity interest for Councillor Holly in the Forward Capital Works Plan. I believe they're both in relation to works at the Harvey Rec and Cultural Centre, one for roadworks on Tom Latch Drive and another one for drainage on Uduck Road.
Okay. Madam President.
I'll confirm O 26.22 is the Tom Latch Drive upgrade, and D 24, bear with me councillors, let me just... D 24 is the Uduck Road drainage sleeve.
Thanks, Madam President. May I ask a question on the overall
Yes.
item? I would just like to be assured, based on some recent information presentations that we've had, in our Forward Capital Works workshop, we identified the roads that needed to be upgraded and a particular order. Does that order still stand in the light of some recent presentations that we've had? Do we need to reprioritise some from previous years to next year, or does it need to stand and then we can deal with it as it comes up?
Is this in relation to the Water Corporation? We've actually assessed those with the Supervisor of Works, and at this stage we don't believe we need to take any action. I guess our main concern would be around when those roads are closed fully and all traffic is being pushed onto those. But we will review that again during the year, and if we need to, can look at that in the 26, 27 potential.
Thank you.
Councillor Carboni has moved, Councillor Dixon has seconded. Any opposition to this one, councillors? Councillor
I've just got a question.
Yes.
There's an item on here that I had asked a question previously about, Madam President, and that is item D 24.2, Uduck Road open drain to 8th Street to Government Road. And the question I had asked was, have we identified who has ownership of that particular drain?
Through the chair, it's my understanding that it's Water Corporation that owns that section of drain.
So the question I have, if additional question now. If Water Corp owned that particular drain, why would it be on our forward capital projects works to maintain that drain? It's not our responsibility, is that correct?
My understanding is that the Shire has undertaken works in there because Water Corporation haven't, so that we have managed to get some of it to clear that out to increase the flow from Uduck Road. But technically, you're correct, it's a Water Corporation responsibility to undertake those works.
Okay. So is it...
Sorry.
Just bring it back to councillors that we are just dealing with D24.1 and O26.22.
Yeah.
So in this particular motion, we're not dealing with the overall forward capital works plan. So in relation to that question, Mr. Faber, you'll take that on notice and...
We can review that, but it also does have a dual function where it does actually drain off Uduck Road as well. So there is a requirement to keep it clear from our perspective to make sure that our road's draining freely as well. So I'm happy to take it on notice and review that. I don't have all the historical data on why we've done what we've done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have that motion in front of us. Councillor Carboni's moved, Councillor Dickinson has seconded. Is there any further discussion, councillors? Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. If we can get Councillor Holly back into the chambers, please. Thank you. He'll be wondering what all the... Councillor Holly, that one was passed 9-0. Okay, item 12.4.2, payments for February 2025. As listed, we have an officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover? Thanks, councillors. Councillor Carboni, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Holly. Likely to be any discussion? I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Thank you. 12.4.3, financial statements as at the 28th of February 2025. We have an officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover for this one? Thank you, councillors. Councillor Boylan, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Capra-Grego. Any discussion? Put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Councillor Coleman, are you voting?
Sorry.
I'll say that again. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Thank you. 12.4.4, Local Roads Community Infrastructure Program Phase 4. This too is also in a number of parts. So we shall deal with the officer's recommendation 1 of 3. Do I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Bromham. Thank you. A seconder? Councillor Junio. Councillor Bromham, any discussion?
No, just build the road.
Councillor Junio? Okay, any discussion, councillors? I'll put this part to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Thank you. Officer's recommendation 2 of 3. Councillor Dickinson is leaving as she has a proximity interest. This is to deal with Mornington Road. Do I have a mover for this one, councillors? Councillor Capra-Grego, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Boyland. Any discussion? Put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Thank you. That one was carried 9-0, Councillor Dickinson. And officers' recommendation 3 of 3, I require an absolute majority in regards to this one, councillors. So do I have a mover? Councillor Dickinson, seconder Councillor Boyland. Any discussion, Councillor Dickinson? Councillor Boyland? Any discussion, councillors? No, put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Thank you, councillors. Community and Lifestyle, 12.5.1, the Leschenault Sporting Association funding request update. We have an officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover here, councillors? For the Councillor Carboni. A seconder? Councillor Bromham. Councillor Carboni, did you wish to speak to this one?
Thanks, Madam President. Yeah, I guess I've been struggling with this one all week, what to do here, and it does concern me, the perilous situation and which this organisation has got itself into, and it disturbs me that they've had to get $5,000 each off 5 of the sporting clubs that support this organisation. We're taking money off of kids, basically, where those sporting clubs could be using that money better spent on those kids. So I have struggled with this a bit, but in saying that, and I know how hard it is to get volunteers to run things, and they struggle, I suppose, like everyone else, but they've asked for a loan, and I guess in this case we'll give them the loan without guarantors, which I was in support of originally. But I'd have to say, certainly from my point of view, if this was to come back to council again, that I think we'd have to take some form of drastic action, I think this would be a last straw as far as I'm concerned. But I'm happy to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Carboni. Councillor Bromham.
Yes, I reiterate what Councillor Carboni has said. I think it's so important for the organisation to stand at the moment, but it really needs to have a good business plan and organise itself more effectively to be financially viable.
Is there any speaker against? Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Madam President. I too have struggled with this, Councillor Carboni, but the LSA showed a $10,000 loan liability on the balance sheet at December 24. They then appeared to have received a further $15,000 from other clubs, $25,000 in total in repayable loans, although it's not time specific. For the past 5 years, the LSA has requested additional financial support, whether for upgrades or for operational support from Shire. Each time, the LSA has slipped back into a deficit. I don't believe that the business model is working, and I fail to see any opportunity for the LSA to repay the member club loans, let alone a further $30,000 as requested from the Shire. Of considerable concern to me is the lack of preparation of a business plan which was to be fully funded from us and on which further financial assistance was contingent. There seems to be a lack of understanding and awareness of the not-for-profit processes for management, funding and solvency. On the 26th of November last year, the LSA presented their case for funding to council. It was suggested at that time that instead of obtaining more loans, perhaps a $10 per head membership fee imposed on their 2,658 members would in fact generate $26,580, almost enough to repay the loan within the given time frame, and that in subsequent years that membership fee would help generate cash flow for the LSA. They were reluctant to take that step despite the obvious advantages, and they remain reluctant to do so now. I'm not confident that an extension of 2 years for repayment of the $30,000 loan to the Shire is achievable, given that there's also the requirement to repay $25,000 to member clubs, again, although no time frame has been stipulated. Based on my perceived inability of the LSA to repay the loans, I suggest that waiver of a guarantee should not be considered for 2 reasons. Other clubs and organisations within the Shire undertook, and some still have, personal guarantees despite no longer being part of a management committee of that club or organisation, and that the money that we're using here is ratepayers' money, and while supporting the community is definitely our charter, continual propping up of a business club or association is not financial responsible decision making.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Is there a speaker for? Against?
Just a question.
Question, Councillor Holly?
Does this open the door for other clubs? That's the only worry that I have, to do a similar proposal.
CEO?
This is a case that's been put forward to council for decision, and each one will be presented to council for decision making if we receive further requests. So it's on council to determine whether this is the first of many or whether this is a one-off.
And I'm just seeking clarification to the Director of Community Lifestyle that we need to cite and approve the business case before the loan goes ahead. So there is an opportunity, if council is not supportive or does not see that it's a sound business case, that we do not have to proceed with the 30,000 loan. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam President.
All right. Any speakers for? Against? Councillor Caboni, did you want to sum up?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Yeah, look, Councillor Coleman, I don't disagree with a lot of what you've said there, and with regards to membership fees and that, well, maybe that's what they'll sort out in their business case. And as Councillor Campbell rightfully just asked, there's checks and balances there for us when the business case comes back to council. Look, I guess in the future we'll have to make a decision. I mean, we pour millions of dollars in subsidies into the LLC next door for kids to play sport. And maybe that's something that we might have to look at in the future, whether we do pour money into it. I think you're a bit incorrect with the support that we've given them in the past. We did put a guarantee in place for wages at one stage, which they never drew down on. And they did ask us for money to upgrade the kitchen, which we did give, which was probably a design fault from us in the first place anyway. So I'm not aware of any other money that we've given to them. So this is probably a first in that regard. But as I said, I'm happy to support this motion going forward, and we'll see what the business case comes up with.
Thanks, Councillor Caboni. With that, I will put this one to the vote. We have summed up. Yep, so I'm going to put this one to the vote. All those in favour? What have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4. Against? That's 3 against, so it's carried 7-3. Did we note who was against? 12.5.2 we've already dealt with. Look at us go. Rightio. 12.5.3, which is the review of the advisory group's terms of reference. There was some additional information that was provided in regard to this item. We have an officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover for this, please, councillors? Councillor Bromham, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Caboni. Councillor Bromham, did you wish to speak?
Only to say I think staff have done a good job in relation to this process, and it gives us some clarity moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor Caboni. Is there going to be any opposition, councillors? No, I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Thank you. All right, item 13, electors, members' motions of which previous notice has been given. We have 2 notice of motions from Councillor Coleman. Councillor Coleman, I'm just wanting to confirm, as per our discussions, that you are happy for me to deal with motion 1 in 2 parts. So the first motion being Lot 8 Wright Street, we will deal with that. And then the second motion will be in regards to Lot 9 Hester Street. Happy? Okay, councillors. So we will now deal with Councillor Coleman's first motion, which should be up on the screen, motion 1 of 2. All right, Councillor Coleman, I gather you're moving this one. Do I have a seconder, councillors? Councillor Capra-Grego. Okay, Councillor Coleman, did you wish to speak to this one? Thank you.
I will, thank you, Madam President, and I hadn't divided these two up at that time, so my summary is that the simple fact is in Harvey we don't have enough 1 and 2 bedroom style housing support units to support residents in our community who stay in large homes, often by themselves because there's nowhere else for them to go, and stay within their local community of family and friends. We need more land for smaller style housing. I'm cognisant of the number of projects that we have on our plate for development within the next few years. So this motion is designed to set in motion the somewhat lengthy process of determining appropriate physical and financial considerations to allow future development of 2 parcels of land that were identified in the Shire's land optimisation strategy some years ago for this purpose. The engagement of an independent and suitably qualified consultant should not adversely affect our existing projects. In fact, I suggest it could run in parallel. The Shire CEO and President have been very successful in several advocacy priorities, and it is in the best interests of the Shire to advocate to the Minister of Lands to amend the management order on Hester Street to allow for independent living units. It is also in the best interests of the Shire of Harvey to at least ask the state government to fund or help fund those independent living units. The WA Housing Strategy 2020 to 2030 is a call to action for all sectors to work together to improve housing choices and access to suitable and affordable homes. The strategy sets clear targets to create a more agile housing system that can respond to current and future need. As I see it, if we provide the land, they could provide the build. Having established the need and the strategy to engage a qualified consultant for a business case, how can we proceed with local lessons learned? A Shire of Harvey working group, including staff and elected members, also has the option to draw upon up to 4 relevant community members. Why would we not draw upon the expertise, for example, of ex-staffer and ex-councillor, now retired Paul Beach, who helped set up the Brunswick River Cottages model back when he was on staff? Why would we not draw upon the expertise of the current Brunswick River Cottages committee members, not to simply replicate their model, but to identify lessons learned, identify the best of the best outcomes and steer clear of any pitfalls? In short, the consultant and the working group can operate in parallel with the Shire's advocacy to ensure the most timely outcomes without undue pressure on staff. The process will be somewhat lengthy anyway, so I see no reason not to get the ball rolling. And I really want to thank the Shire staff for their comprehensive report and support of this motion, which I feel is in the best interests of our ratepayers.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. I just wish to move a slight amendment to this motion 1, and it's around the wording of the allocation up to $50,000 on our budget for the consultant. I feel that it just will ensure correction. I'll go into the debate about that later. So that's my amendment, councillors. Do I have a seconder for that amendment? Councillor Bromham, thank you. I'll just speak to that amendment. It doesn't change the intent of the motion. I think it just makes it we've received some advice from staff that a consultant is around $50,000, so it just makes it a bit tidier, I think. Councillor Bromham, did you want to speak to the amendment at all? Okay, all right, I'll just put that amendment to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? 2 against. So the amendment is carried, 8-2. So now that becomes a substantive.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes,
What's lot 8 Wright Street zoned currently?
Mr Hall?
Through Madam Chair, it's actually reserved for recreation.
Okay, councillor Coleman's spoken. Councillor Capra-Gregor, did you wish to speak to this motion?
Thanks, Madam President. I was intending to speak to this motion, but Councillor Coleman summed it up that well that I can't even get close. But we all understand that there is definitely a housing shortage in Harvey and lots for people to build on, and I've been pushing and advocating for this type of development from the first day I came onto council. So I'm pleased to see that we've taken a step forward if we accept this motion. Thank you.
Okay, any speakers against? Councillor Carboni.
I'm reluctant to speak against this, and look, I understand the intent of what you want here. I guess, and I sit on the Brunswick River Cottages committee. Where's the committee coming forward requesting this? I think we're putting the cart before the horse here. I would like to see a committee formed, a dedicated committee formed to come to council and request to build this. Then I think we're in a position to move. For us to go and spend $50,000 on something that the Shire can't fund, you've all seen the figures. The Shire's not going to be in a position to build this. So we can either do, you can either do one of two things, I guess. We can get this rezoned to residential, and we can go through that process and then ask for expressions of interest from third parties if they want to build on the property, build aged care living on the property. We could certainly do that for both these properties. I had no problem with that, because then it's something that might happen because we're not funding it. All we're going to do is rezone the land. But in the absence of a committee coming forward that wants to push this and raise funds and work out how we're going to pay for it, and as you know, the Shire won't be able to fund this. I just see us throwing good money for something that we're never going to be able to fulfil.
I just want to clarify, Councillor Carboni, that this is dealing with single residential dwellings on Lot 8 Wright Street. So the second motion deals with the independent living units, which may be more related to the Brunswick River Cottages model. So just saying in regards to your debate there.
My point is how we're going to fund it.
Correct. Okay, noted. Thank you. Speaker 4. You've already had the opportunity, Councillor Capra-Gregor, and you said Councillor Coleman said everything for you. So is there another speaker 4?
That is correct, Madam President.
Thank you. A speaker against? Speaker 4? Councillor Coleman, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam President, and I take your points, Councillor Carboni. And not so far back, I would have had very similar points of view. One of the things that was highlighted to me through the diploma of local government was that when we own land, there's two things that shires should be cognisant of. One, we don't build anything on there that we can't get rates for. And number two, we don't put anything on there that we can't sell because it's our land. So if we do both of those things, then we're into what they said was a double negative. So the reasoning for putting a consultant on there to establish whether or not an independent developer can come in and build units on there that we can draw rates and or income from was my reasoning behind that one. I'll speak of the independent living side of things. That is our land. It's not our land. It's land that is vested in us. So we're not going to lose any money by putting, for example, independent living units on Hester Street. there's no double negative whatsoever. We can actually make a lot of money potentially out of Lot 8, Wright Street. Hence my reasoning for the two different plots of land. And I'm happy to stand corrected if Mr Hall thinks I've got that slightly wrong, because I'm not a planner and those subjects are extremely intense in the diploma, but I think I've got the gist of it. So that was my reasoning behind getting the Lot 8 investigated for land that we can either sell and or get a developer in that we can draw rent and rates from. In Hester Street is to put independent living units on it because there's absolutely no disadvantage to doing so. The committee that you did speak about, there is, as I said, why would we not draw upon the volunteers the existing volunteers from the Brunswick River Cottages who are more than happy to help come and steer a committee. And I have taken the advice of staff as per the committee members on there, including 2 councillors, staff, and up to 4 relevant members who know what they're doing and can show us the pitfalls. Those people have already expressed an interest in assisting and have had conversations. It's premature to get them here because it's not formed as a committee yet, because there's nothing to form a committee yet for. So if we approve these motions, then I dare say those committees will form in a fairly short space of time and be able to start working on that in parallel to staff's all of the other issues that we've got and projects we've got coming forward. So it was designed to assist staff but progress the assets for Harvey Shire.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. All right, so just to clarify, we are just now voting on the substantive motion that's in front of us that deals with Lot 8 Wright Street only for single residential dwellings. So, councillors, I'm going to put this to the vote. No, it's been summed up, Councillor Bromham, thank you. I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? Against? 2 against, carried. 8-2, thank you. We will now deal with part 2, which is Lot 9 Hester Street. And this is for the independent living units. So Councillor Coleman, we have it up there on the screen. Assuming you're moving this one as well. So do we have a seconder for this one, councillors? Councillor Capragrego. Okay. Councillors, I do have an amendment for this particular motion. Is up on the screen. I'll just give you a chance to have a read. I thought I did. Do I have a seconder for the amendment, councillors? Councillor Bromham, thank you. Right. I should just speak to this amendment. Simple ones, really. The original one suggested that council does the advocating, and I've just put in there that we request the CEO advocate to the minister. And if item 2 is not supported, amends the 25-26 budget to include an allocation of funds to undertake the business case. Should the business case then be successful, then we establish the working group. So we don't establish the working group until we have the business case that is being approved or supported by council, and then we move forward. So the intent doesn't change. It just, I think, tidies up a little bit. Councillor Bromham, did you want to speak as the seconder to the amendment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd only to say that I believe by moving this, we're basically following good planning processes and much more succinctly, so it'll make it easy for everyone in getting this through.
Thank you. question, Councillor Junio?
Yep. In item number 3, letter B, at the end of the wording, it says membership of the internal working group to include colon. Is there some other words that have to be added to that, or?
Yeah, I'm just dealing with the amendment. So the, as per Councillor Coleman's original motion, that would be the membership.
Okay.
But good pick up, thank you. Is there a speaker against this amendment? Councillor Carboni.
Well, for similar reasons to the last motion, again, I'm not against this. It's just the process. And by all means, get the land rezoned first. That's the first thing we should do, is get the land rezoned. Then get the committee to come. And this was discussed at the Brunswick River Cottages Committee on Friday, which I was at. And I can believe me, they don't want anything to do with Harvey. It was brought up at the meeting. And they don't want anything to do with Harvey. So rezone the land, get the committee to come to council, form a committee, get them to come to council that they're going to stick it out and do like Ken Hart did, put his name down as guarantor for 20 years for the 20-year loan. Get those people to come there, because we're not going to be able to fund it. And if you're going to, and to take Councillor Coleman's point about selling stuff on Shire land, if you're applying for a state grant to build these independent living units, you can't sell them. If you're setting up this independent living units like the River Cottages, we can't sell them because it's been funded for a specific purpose. They have to stay there. So again, I'm not against it. It's just the process that we're following.
Speaker for the amendment? Speaker against? No. Okay, I'll just sum up to say that to me this just simplifies the process a bit more, and it aligns it with the budget, and it also aligns it if we're not successful with the state government funding, then we can move into organising or coordinating a business case. If that's supported by council, then we move into organising the internal working group moving forward. Okay, so I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Six against? 3 against, carried 6-3. That now becomes 7-3, correction. Thank you. That now becomes the substantive. So Councillor Coleman, you've moved this. Did you wish to speak to this one?
No, I think I've said everything I need to say. Thank you.
Councillor Capra-Gregor, you have an opportunity now, because Councillor Coleman has not said anything. Here is a platform for you to speak in regards to independent living units in Harvey.
Thanks, Madam President. So, as you all know, I've been advocating for this type of establishment for quite some years now, and I think that this is another step forward towards achieving one of the things that I came on council for, is that we, historically, if you look at the town of Harvey, most of the lots were made up of 1 quarter acre lots. There's so many people who want to downsize, who are getting to the age where they want to downsize and get out of their 4x2 home and make that available for smaller families to come in and grow our community. And if we don't have anywhere for these people to go, our community will not grow in Harvey, but hopefully it'll grow in the Shire. These people will move to where there are facilities for them to go to. I'm really passionate about this. It's something that I have been advocating for some time, and I just think it's a positive step forward. And it may be like Councillor Carboni saying, we are putting the cart before the horse, but we need to put something forward. We need to walk in that direction. Otherwise, we won't get anywhere. We'll be, talking about this for years to come, but we never ever make that step forward. So I think it's a good thing for our community, for our Shire, and for the growth of our town. So I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any speakers against this one? Further discussion for? Closing the debate, Councillor Coleman, wish to add anything? Okay, I'm going to put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried 7-3. Thank you. Okay, councillors. Councillor Coleman has also put forward a notice of motion as per the screen there. Councillor Coleman moving that. Do I have a seconder? No seconder? Oh, gosh, I tell you what, I was just about called it, Councillor Cabaney. All righty. Councillor Coleman, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam President. I'm asked by ratepayers from time to time why we're rubber stamping decisions without question. We know that's not the case, but where is the transparency for our ratepayers? Even when you watch online on YouTube, anything sent in writing, even if it's referred to during the meeting, it's not read out and the viewers have no idea of the relevance, the question or the answer. Indeed, anything referred to even on our monitor screens is not relayed to the public as they can't see what's on our screens. On that particular note, not even our declarations of interest are verbalised and as is required under the Act. Only our decisions are recorded, not verbatim conversations, and quite rightly. In the interest of open and transparent governance to the ratepayers, by ensuring that our elected members' questions and staff responses are accurately recorded and publicly accessible demonstrates to our ratepayers that we are in fact conducting our own due diligence. Although the report accurately states that there is no legislative requirement for a council member to publicise questions, there is also no legislative restriction for doing so. As elected members, we are charged with operating both within legislative requirements and in the interests of our ratepayers. This motion simply asks the CEO to introduce verbatim written agenda notes of questions and answers. It does not seek to impose undue pressure on staff by correcting spelling or grammar. It simply asks for the relevant cut and paste equivalent type of operation within our existing system. There are other councils within WA operating under this style of agenda note. Some choose to include it after the agenda briefing, which I believe would place undue pressure on staff. This motion seeks to collate the agenda briefing and ordinary council meeting questions in writing only as an agenda note to be published with the ordinary council meeting minutes. And I hope it encourages all councillors to submit their questions in writing. I note that there may be some redaction where privacy issues prevail according to law. In summary, this motion seeks to strengthen accountability to our ratepayers, ourselves and our staff, and public confidence in council decisions increases as residents can better understand our decision process. This motion helps align us with best practices in local government transparency and ensures that councillors' questions and answers are documented and easily accessible to the community. Indeed, our promise to the community is we will keep you informed.
Councillor Cabaney, as the seconder.
I'll just add that when we changed the structure of the way these council meetings changed several years ago, when we did away with the old development services and changed it to the system we've got now, this was always going to happen. And I did say it at the time. When we used to have the old meetings where staff used to get up before each item before council and give a report, it was transparent, people in the gallery knew exactly what we were doing. And here we are, that was 2017 I think when that happened, and here we are now where basically, if you're dead right, if you're looking on from TV and that, we're rubber stamping motions and no one even knows what we're doing here. So yes, I agree with you. If you want to go down this path, I'd prefer to go back to the old system we used to run the council meetings. And we have, to some extent, gone back to the 2 days like that. But we still don't have where staff get up and present each item to council and that ability for us to ask questions and where it's transparent to the people in the gallery and today the people watching on TV.
Do I speaker against? Councillor Bromham.
Yeah, look, I guess my concern with this particular motion is that councillors deal with questions in all different ways, not just written. So there might be a phone call, all different ways. But what we're only going to see here is what people write in. So it's like, if it can be, like a competition. So to me, it's going to be a waste of staff time. We're not a state government or a federal government. We don't have this type of information at local government. And I think as an organisation, I don't think ratepayers would like us to have staff time, which is money, ratepayers' money, spent on something like this, which could be seen simply as self-promotion.
Speaker for. Speaker against. I will speak against this. I have some concerns in regards to transparency. I would suggest that we are more transparent to our community members now that we live stream. Councillors always have the opportunity to ask any amount of questions at the agenda briefing and also at the ordinary council meeting. Putting this as a document verbatim onto the website, I have some concerns because of, I do have concerns when we have spelling errors, when we have grammar errors and the like in our public documents that go onto the website. So I would find it unacceptable if I was to put a document onto the website that contained errors, whether it be spelling or grammar or whatever, from councillors and staff. So I would have concerns about this item or this document going onto the public website and being accessed to the public. We have, councillors have every opportunity to ask questions, and it may not even capture those questions that are asked between the agenda briefing and the ordinary council meeting. And as Councillor Bromham has said, that's done in a number of ways, and it could be just a verbal conversation. How does that get captured in this particular document? It doesn't. So I understand the intent of it, but I would suggest that councillors, we have enough transparency with online YouTubing videos and the like, and I would be very concerned about putting any document on our public social media or website that is not correct. So I can't support this motion. Speaker for. Speaker against. Councillor Holly.
I'd just like to reiterate sort of what you said. If this came into action, I probably wouldn't be here because I can't read or write to save my life. So my way of doing is, like John said, it's answering phone calls and that sort of thing. To putting in writing, I've actually got goosebumps thinking about it. So, yeah, I won't be voting for it.
Speaker for. Speaker against. A speaker against. Councillor Dickerson, thank you.
While I acknowledge the intent of this, I think that we are accountable and we abide by the legislation that is in place. I also believe that it could cause confusion because people could interpret responses to questions as a decision of council, and it may not be a decision of council. So I think that it could have the potential for actually causing more confusion and not necessarily clarification, because people are focusing on the wrong part of a written document. So I won't be supporting the motion.
Speaker for. Speaker against. Councillor Coleman.
Can I ask a question, Madam President?
Yes.
So, in council meetings, agenda briefing and or ordinary council meeting, can councillors ask that their questions be recorded in the minutes?
Well, we don't have minutes for the agenda briefing, so
in
there
the
aren't any
ordinary
minutes
council
there.
meeting?
One moment.
I'd have to check our standing orders. I don't have them in front of me at the moment, but I do have it in front of you. Yeah. If I have 2 seconds just to bring up the local law, Shire President, is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I've got it here through the Shire President. So section 7.1 of our standing orders local law deals with questions by members of which due notice has been given. So members can request that questions taken on notice be given to the member within 7 days of when it was raised at the meeting. So that could be put into the minutes in that section.
So that's part 5 of the agenda, is that correct? Yes. Yeah. There is an opportunity there where your questions can be.
7 clear working days before the meeting.
Could you say that, CEO?
Apologies. 7.1.1, a question on notice is to be given by a member in writing to the CEO at least 7 clear working days before the meeting at which it is to be raised. And that's for a question of members of which due notice has been given.
So in summing up, Councillor Coleman?
So just to clear that, that would be immediately after the agenda briefing to be recorded in the ordinary council minutes. Would that be right?
No, that would not be 7 clear working days.
No, and through the Shire President, I think the intent of this section is to deal with questions which don't relate to items on the agenda. So what we're talking about in terms of the notice of motion is dealing with questions that relate to items on the agenda.
Okay, so sorry, do I understand that we can have, if I submit questions on the agenda, if it's after the agenda brief, if it's before the agenda briefing, I don't have the agenda, really. So if I submit questions so mostly minor finance questions, for example, can I have those all included in the minutes? And if so, when do I have to have the questions in?
So they would be the minutes of the ordinary council meeting?
Yes.
It would be 7 working days before the OCM.
So on the weekend, the agenda briefing's published on the Friday. I'd have to have the questions into council before the agenda's released. How could I get questions included in the minutes if I don't know what the agenda is?
Yeah, through the chair, and I guess that's with reference to this section being related to questions outside of the agenda. So you're free to ask questions in relation to the agenda at any time of the cycle. It's just in relation to them going into the minutes. So it's dealing with, I guess, the agenda and the items, and this would be for a question not relating to those items. That's the intention. If you had a question that just so happened to relate to an item that came up on the OCM agenda, it could be included.
that's the way to go. Yep.
And that's what I'm saying. The questions that I ask at the ordinary council meeting, will they be included in the
No.
in the minutes?
No, they won't.
No.
No.
So
But they'll be on record.
Which is
only online.
We're
You
not,
have to watch online to get the answers.
yes, you do. Yeah. So I'm asking you now, Councillor Coleman, to close the debate on this one. Thank you.
Certainly. Okay. There's a number of councils around Western Australia that actually do have adopted this process. We've actually seen certainly Mrs Ferguson and Mrs Lofthouse come here and ask questions about open transparency. If two people come, there's a lot more behind them that don't bother to come. I would encourage councillors to live up to our promise to the community, is that we'll keep you informed. All I'm asking for, and whilst I was intended to not put undue pressure on staff by correcting spelling or grammar, if the staff and the President quite rightly feel that that should be corrected without changing the context, I have no problem with it. The intent was not to put undue pressure on staff in trying to grammar and do spelling. But I still think that we owe it to our ratepayers to show them that we are asking questions and that we can be held accountable to those questions and to those answers. I am unable at this point to find any other way to do that, particularly as the questions won't be recorded in the minutes. You have to watch online. So I fail to see how that is the promise to the community that we'll keep you informed.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Against? The motion is lost, 8-2. Thank you. Item 14, notice of motion for the following meeting is... Councillor Carboni, I nearly got nil. So close.
Gonna have to bear with me because I've only just thought of it. That council rescind a former motion of council. Are you going to type this out? Don't hold your head, Councillor Campbell. Oh, it's all right. With regards to the sale of Shire-owned land on the east side of Mulgara Street, Australind. And proceed with its sale. Yep.
Councillor Carboni, I'm not sure whether we actually have a decision of council in regards to not selling the land, but we will investigate that as part of that notice of motion.
We can work on the wording. We've got the intent. Thank you. Are there any other notice of motions? No? Thank you. Reports of members. Is there anyone that has anything they wish to report, councillors? No? New business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of meeting is nil. We do have some confidential items? Yes, so we need to go behind closed doors. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bromham, seconder, Councillor Boyland. Thank you. All those in favour? Carried 10-0. Thank you. We will move behind closed doors, and thank you for members of the gallery. We're back. Okay, welcome back. I just want to confirm the resolution of council. Item 17.1.1, sale of land at A9179 was carried 10-0. Item 17.1.2, sale of land A1277 was carried 10-0. And item 17.13, sale of land A549 was carried 10-0. Thank you, councillors and staff, and I declare this meeting closed. Yes, before I go, am I saying farewell to Councillor Boyland?